Okay, today is Sunday. It is 2:45 p.m. It is May 17th. I just realized I just realized something, and I'm gonna head off. I'm going to head off what could possibly be a something that's going to arise in the future. Okay, and that is this. Okay, so what's gonna happen is that I'm gonna be profitable. Okay, I will be profitable, and then uh, my ego will change, okay? And my ego, and I'm gonna take lightly of what I've experienced right now in the future when I have money, right? And so my attitude is gonna be different, okay? It's gonna be totally different. And then I'm gonna post something on YouTube, and when I post it on the YouTube, uh, and what I post on YouTube is purely for my own entertainment, okay? Uh, because the objective of posting on the YouTube is to document my journey and record it, okay? And it is not meant to earn any income or whatever it is, but it is purely for the basis of recording it, such that later on, when my kids, when they're probably very busy right now trying to live, okay, because they're in their 20s and they're trying to figure out what life is about and settled into it. And so when they get to the point where they are settled in and they found their direction a little bit, okay, then they could see what their father did, okay, and so that's the whole purpose of it. But what's going to happen is that I'm going to go to a restaurant after I become rich as a trader. And then I'm going to leave a tip that is like 5% or maybe 2%. And then I'm going to post it on YouTube, and some viewers are going to say, "You're a cheapskate. You're a jerk." Okay? You're like, you have an inflated ego, okay? And you don't deserve it. You are a loser, okay? So people are going to say that. But right now, what I am is, it's all true. Okay, it's all true. That's me. Okay. Uh, what I heard from YouTube, what I heard from Al Brooks trading is this. Okay, you can be the meanest person on earth. You can be the nicest person on earth, but the market will take your money gladly, whatever your situation is. Also, you can be the meanest person on earth and you can be the nicest person on earth, but the market will reward you the same because it's purely based on the techniques of trading. And if you have that skill, it does not infringe upon what kind of a person you are. Okay. And it's all a matter of perspective. Okay. I am an American, and people who are American, they can say, hey, that's a regular American. Okay. There's a First Amendment right, which is you have an opinion to yourself, okay? But in certain countries, you can't say that, all right? Like if you're living in Iran and you say something, or if you live in United Kingdom and you say something, you will be jailed, okay? Because they don't have the First Amendment rights that Americans do, okay? And so what will happen is that one of these days, I'm going to be profitable and I'm going to start making money. And then I'm going to post something, and some people will look at it and say, "Boy, you ungrateful jerk! How could you be so jerky to other people?" Okay, well, okay. So in my own defense, because what it turns out is that if you don't say something, the way that the legal system is structured is that you're guilty. Okay, if you don't say anything, you're guilty. That's how it works. You have to say something. You cannot ignore anything. That's how it works. Purely based on the fact is that you are guilty until you say something. You have to say, I'm not guilty. You have to say that. And then they'll say, well, you did this, this, this. Then you have to prove that you're innocent. Okay? So you have to prove your innocence. But it says that you are not guilty until you are proven guilty. That's what you are innocent until you are proven guilty. That's what they say. But it's actually reversed. You are guilty until you prove yourself to be innocent. Okay? That's that's the way it works. Okay? That's why people who are innocent, some people get charged with murder and they end up in jail. Okay? That's what this yeah. Right? Even though you're innocent, you didn't prove that you were innocent, and so you're in jail. Right? That's how it works, right? Anyway, so to to block that, or to, I already know what's going to happen, okay? And I've already anticipated that I'm gonna make some money in the market. I'm going to. I can already see it. See, when I'm profitable, I'm gonna be talking a little bit, and my voice will carry. And don't some people don't like that? They think, "Well, what a jerk, what a ungrateful jerk." Okay, that's what they're gonna say. You're a jerk. Okay, we don't want you around here. Okay, because you're profitable, we don't like you. Look, we don't like your kind of thing. I'm like preparing for that right now. Okay, they're gonna say, "Oh, you ungrateful jerk." Okay. So you went to this buffet and then you didn't leave a tip, you ungrateful jerk. Okay, you're a jerk. Okay, you don't understand people like us who are not profitable. See, that's what's gonna happen. Okay, all right. So this, let me just give you a picture of what happened. Okay, so I arrived in Boise. Okay, it was winter time. Winter came. Okay, so I had this jacket on, one jacket. Okay, and I had this backpack that I bought, one backpack, and I had this computer that was 6 years old. Okay, 2020. I bought it in 2015, and then at that time it was like 7 years, 8 years old. I had a computer that was 8 years old, and it was slow. It was fast at that time, but it quickly became slow as the software would get updated and then operating system became obsolete. So I carried that. I literally in a wintertime couldn't afford a parking space. I couldn't afford rent. I couldn't afford anything. Okay, and so I lived in a homeless shelter. Okay, right. Right now I am homeless. Okay, I'm essentially a beggar, but I don't beg. Okay, so I live within my means, which is very low. Okay, right now I'm just telling you this. Okay, so that when somebody later on down the road, when I become profitable, and they're gonna say, "What a jerk you are! You're an ungrateful, unprofitable, uh, ignorant jerk." Okay, for what you're doing. Okay, I'm preparing for that. Okay, you don't deserve it. Okay, so I'm preparing for that right now. I'm preparing. I'm bracing for what's going to happen because I've seen the Minority Report already. I can see it. I know what's going to happen. The path that I've chosen is clearly moving in the right direction, to the direction that I've been pointing at. When you build a missile and then you direct it into a certain location, it only has one direction it's going to go. Okay? If it while it's going there, it might explode, but it's going to go in that direction. That's what a rocket does. And you know what the rocket does? It's meant to just purely just go up as fast as it can. That's what a rocket does. Okay, coincident. But in most cases, what the rocket is doing is carrying its fuel. In most cases, because what weighs the most is actually the fuel that it's carrying to fly up. So, it most of the fuel is used to carry the fuel up. Okay. Anyway, so I know what's going to happen. People will say, "You're an ungrateful jerk." Okay, you want some more popcorn because we didn't give you the full a bag full of popcorn. You want popcorn? You're an ungrateful jerk. You should be homeless. Okay, well, I am homeless. I was homeless. I got out of being homeless. I know what it's like being homeless. Okay? I worked my ass off to be here. Okay? I sacrificed this eye, which I cannot see very well now. I sacrificed my knee. Okay? I sacrificed my ankle. Okay? I lived in a homeless shelter. And I lived in a room where it was full of bed bugs. Okay? All right? And then I lived and slept in the freezing minus 12 degrees Fahrenheit in the cold in the wintertime in my car. Okay? Now you call me a jerk. Go ahead. Go ahead. Call me a jerk. Go ahead. Tell me. Call me, you ungrateful jerk. Go ahead. Go ahead. Go ahead. Tell me. Say it. Say it. You ungrateful jerk. Let me say it for you. You ungrateful jerk. Okay, go ahead. Go ahead. Go ahead. I'm heading these things off, okay, in the future because it's going to happen. Okay? I'm bracing for what will happen. Okay, I'm like preparing myself for what people will do to me. Okay, what they'll say and what they'll do. Okay, I'm preparing it. I'm preparing for success. Okay? I'm preparing it. I'm emptying myself so that I can be a bowl to accept what will happen. Okay, inevitably that's what's going to happen. If you work hard, even if you have a Swiss cheese of a brain, if you focus intense enough, things will happen. Okay. Right now, I haven't made a single penny. It's been 5.5 years, but it's going to happen. It's going to happen. Because what I've noticed is the critical component of is that I know I keep making mistakes. I keep seeing it. Now, what it seems like what it's like building muscle. I heard. See, when you lift weights, the muscles you don't see, but you keep doing it. You keep doing it. You keep doing it. You keep doing it, and the muscle starts to build up. Okay, this brain is the same way. I had no idea the brain was doing. See, I'm not a I'm not a brain surgeon or a brain doctor or a neurologist or anything like that. But what seems to happen is that there's two components of the brain. The brain has the physical formation, okay, the biological form, and there's also the ideal and thought kind of a part of it, where the infrastructure is the brain matter, and that brain matter is just like a muscle, and it has to be rearranged such that when a constant use is made, it starts to strengthen, it starts to create a bond, it becomes more stickier as the experiences are repeated over and over and over and over and over again. That's why in the zombie movies, they wrote it so that whatever the zombie used to be, when they become a zombie, they do what they do as a zombie. That's what I heard. That's what because it is remained in their brain and there's no new information to change whatever is going on. And so the information that's in the current state of the zombie's brain is essentially doing what it's supposed to be doing. Okay? That's what it does, right? So, so I'm um so so oh boy. See, all I have to do is get the 8%, 5%, first payout, second payout, go to the 50K, past phase one, phase two. Then the first payout is going to be massive. It's going to be huge. Okay, it's gonna be. So I used to have a friend of mine. Okay, I used to have a friend of mine, and he was in trading. Okay, he was in trading, and he was a Vietnamese American technician, and he talked about how under the regime of the General Nguyen. Okay, his last name is Nguyen, and because the individual was so popular, he actually cornered the female market in Vietnam, and so he procreated with so many women that that practically everybody's name is Nguyen. Okay, the Vietnamese, the Nguyen is the most popular thing. It's like the Smith and the last name is Smith and whatever it is, right? So, right? What other Smith is number one, I think. Smith is one of them, right? And so what happened was so we met in Oregon, okay? We met in Oregon because back then, which was like year 2000, actually 1997. I'm a very very old man. Okay, I'm a very old man. Uh, so I'm a very very old man. Okay, uh, I'm a very very old man. I'm an old man. Okay, I'm a very very old man. And I watched a lot of TV. When I first immigrated to the U.S., I watched a lot of American TV, like Petticoat Junction and Gilligan's Island, and I was immersed in it. I, I just I just fell in love with the culture. Okay, the culture, Fresh Prince of Bel Air and all that stuff. I mean, I fell in love with it. Okay, I fell in love with the movies and things like that. So then I was in so that was about 1997. I was there, and then this Vietnamese guy was older than I was, but he was working there as a technician. Okay, and because the company that I was working on, which was a memory company, was starting out. There wasn't much to do initially, right? And so we got to know each other, and he told me about that he was a trader. He was a trader, but he lost everything apparently. Okay, he lost everything because he was a trader, but he wasn't really a good trader. So he was good in sporadic kind of a manner where he would be able to escalate into something that is winning and make massive amounts. But when he's wrong, he's really wrong. And so he was like the person who made $1.4 million and then lost it overnight kind of thing. So he's talking about this, and before he got there, he was working for TI, and he was talking about how when he was there, the doors are like 12 foot tall, 16 foot tall, and everything was gigantic. And then he's telling me that when he was on a stretch of winning streak, that he was living like a king, okay, and he was eating like a king. He said he was living like a king when he was there, okay, because the money that he was making from trading was so massive that he can live like that because it was so easy to get for himself, right? And then the way that trading works is that if you really don't know how to hold on to your money, you're going to lose it overnight. Even in a blink of an eye, you can lose everything. Okay, you can lose $1 billion in a blink of an eye. Just ask that whatever that guy is, whatever that guy. There's this there's a guy who had a family trading business, and he lost what was that, like $36 billion overnight. He was part of the turtles. And so what the turtles do is that you always want a high tick. And when it goes higher, you just keep buying and buying and buying and buying. Okay? That's what he did. But he didn't realize that I think it was a communication company that I was in. And he had like billions and billions of dollars. And so what the company did was they decided to dilute the shares. Okay? They decided to dilute the shares so that they could take the money and invest it in something else, right? Only this guy didn't know, and so when you dilute the shares, what used to be $36 billion become everybody starts to sell, okay? And then when that happens, the price of the stock just earthquakes down to virtually nil, and he lost everything. And he borrowed money from banks and things like that to do that, right? It can change overnight. Okay. So you can live like a king, and you can be. I mean, he's living like a king. I mean, he's like taking his toothpick out and his like lobster every night, steaks every night, and all that stuff, right? And he's picking his teeth. And then people who don't understand how he got there by giving a gold bar to a farrier to take him across the Mekong Delta or something like that. And then he immigrated to the US by escaping communism. Okay? That's how he got there. So that's his background. And so the good things that happened to him, he deserves it. Okay? He deserves it. I mean the atrocities that he had suffered in order to escape communism, and then he finally came to America. And then for a spell of time, he was eating and living like a king, right? But some people see when I look at like, there's a guy named the 10X guy, okay, Grant Cardone. So what he does is he's reaching a billionaire status, and what he's doing is he buys. He used to be like a motivational speaker. But then what he did is he used to sell things. Then he transitioned into real estate. And when he transitioned into real estate, he started buying up apartments. And so his habit of buying the apartment is purely to buy it cheap and then make the values go up. And then by doing that, raise the rent for each of the doors to make it worth more, okay? So what that means is what it would do is it'll displace the people who can barely afford it. And so he's doing it across the board. So that he can reap the rewards of owning an apartment and then having people pay for it more so than what it cost him to do that. Then so he's doing is he's taking the money and then buying these G wagons and things like that. Okay, and for somebody like myself who can't even afford an apartment, okay, who bear see these days what I do is I take a few bucks and I put gasoline in it, and so when I go to Costco where the cheap gas is, I put maybe a gallon or 2 gallon at a time because that's all I can afford. So when I look at that, I'm thinking, okay, so this guy has raised rent so much in apartments I can't even afford to live there, right? And 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 when he does that across the board, it raises the price of living everywhere. Okay, so so uh so I saw that and I go, oh, well, that's probably not a nice thing to do. I thought maybe he might be considered a jerk. Maybe I don't know. So it's like, okay, so the people who are buying up all these houses, okay, apparently these are corporations that are buying these houses because they know that when they sap up the supply, the price of houses will keep going up, and so they keep buying it. Even China owns, like, China. The people in China buy homes in America, okay, and so people in America can't even afford it, okay, and then people are getting laid off left and right. The price keeps climbing up. I mean, you're gonna have more people living out of their cars and things like that, right? So maybe they're jerks. Maybe I don't know. Maybe. So I know, and there's also a movie called The Jerk. I don't know why he's called The Jerk. He seems to be there's a with Steve Martin. Okay, why is he called a jerk? Oh, because he acts so goofy. He acts goofy because he's out of touch with what normal people feels, and because of that, they believe he's a jerk, and so that's a jerk. Okay, that's a jerk. He's a jerk. He's not a malicious jerk, but he's a he's labeled as a jerk, even though he's not a jerk. He's a good guy, right? He's sending money to his family. He's writing checks to all these organizations, okay? And then he invented this thing that you put on your glasses to pull on and off, right? And eventually he got sued, okay, and he had to pay everything off, right? Boy, I feel like I'm gonna be fired right now. I feel like on the spot, somebody's gonna fire me right now. I feel like somebody's right behind me and said, "I'm gonna fire you right now." I feel it. I feel like somebody wants to fire me right now. Whoa, it's crazy. I feel very nervous. I feel like a I feel like a jerk. Why do I feel like a jerk? I don't know right now. Okay. But I have a feeling people will say that. Okay. Because I know what's going to happen. Okay. I'm going to be very rich. Okay. May God be so kind. Okay. My trading will break through. Okay. And then I'm going to start making, my trading is finally, because it was all the mind. My brain was all, I had to figure this out, but it was purely my mind. My brain was holding me back. And so then I'm gonna be rich. I'm gonna have a pocket full of. What I'm gonna do is I'm gonna roll up some bills, just like those people in the movies where they roll it up. A wad. They're gonna have a wad. It's gonna be a wad, this yay big. Okay, and I'm gonna put it in my pocket. It's a good thing the pants that I'm wearing is elastic, so I'm gonna put a big wad in there, and then it's gonna be banded with a rubber band, okay? And I'm gonna peel off a bill, and I'm gonna buy some popcorn and go to IMAX to watch a movie. And then the guy behind the counter is gonna give me a popcorn half full. Okay, he's gonna do that, and I'm gonna say, "Could you please fill up the bag?" And then he's gonna say, "You're a jerk," and I'll say, I thought about that and I knew you were going to say that. So I prepared myself about many, many months ago. Okay. So it's okay. But Could you be so kind to see, popcorn is so expensive. I could go to Costco and get like 44 bags for $10, okay? Same size as that. But I'm paying $12 for it with that in here, okay? At least you could do is fill it up, okay? The cost of one kernel is probably the same as the first kernel. The last kernel is probably because the price is in like eating it there. It's not the price of the popcorn, okay? Right? So fill it up, okay? You can call me a jerk all you want, but right? Just fill it up, man. Look, I brought my kids, okay? I'm embarrassing my kids. Oh, Lord, may God be so kind. You know, I lived a homeless man for the past 5.5 years. Give me the opportunity to live a rich man, okay, for the rest of my life. My ex-wife said about my kids, they're good kids. She said after she divorced me after years, they're good, Key. They're good kids, Key. They're good kids. I know. You're good. I'm dumb, but I'm still good. Okay? That makes it good. You jerk!